What's up, Toronto? Make some noise! We are coming to you live from Manami Athletic Center for the final day of Summer Showdown, and we are in store for an epic finale. We started this weekend with 8 teams, but now only 3 remain. The number 1 seed Dallas Fuel have been on fire all stage, coming off a 3-0 sweep against the San Francisco Shock, and they now wait to see who they will face off against later tonight. Which brings us to our first match of the day, the San Francisco Shock versus Toronto Defiant. Will the Shock conquer Canada and take down the hometown heroes? Or will Defiant rise together, and defend Toronto? All those questions will be answered right now, which means, are you guys ready to get this show started or what? Toronto, I'm gonna be honest, I know you guys could do better than that. One more time, I said, are you ready? Thank you guys very much. Let's send things over to our casters. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Jaws and Necro.
Thank you very much, Danny. A big warm welcome. Championship Sunday has finally arrived. Toronto looking to complete that lower bracket run. Only one more win stands in their way of making it to the next game, and the Dallas Fuel are waiting for them. But they have to conquer the Shock first, which is no mean feat most of the time. Can the San Francisco Shock redeem themselves against the Dallas Fuel a little later on? Well, like Danny said, those questions will have answers in just a moment.
Toronto Defiant have had an incredible lower bracket run so far. They have beaten 2 incredibly strong opponents. They do have that one more in the way. And Shock yesterday, their match versus the Fuel, while it was a 3-0, it was still pretty close. And we've seen how San Francisco Shock have this ability to bounce back. But is a second loss versus the Fuel? I mean, they snapped their winning streak. Where's their mental right now? The crowd is behind Toronto Defiant. So that could be the buff that the Defiant need to take down this behemoth of a team.
The crowd certainly thinks so, that is for sure. Look, the Shock had a pretty easy run, okay? Their schedule looked pretty easy coming into this. Was it a surprise that the Dallas Fuel took them down? And will Toronto Defiant do the same thing? I mean, Shock got beaten 3-0 yesterday. Like, come on now.
That's true.
Toronto Defiant did have some slugfest of games. Like, they almost lost it at the final hurdle, but like...
Hang on, though.
Okay,
hang on.
okay.
It was fan service.
Okay,
that was all fan service right there. Toronto Defiant.
Some extra games, some extra games.
Get some extra maps in there just to make sure that the fans are having a good time here in the arena.
Yeah, okay, I could believe that. They want to put on a show, that's for sure. I mean, look, the Toronto Defiant, yeah, they got the home, like the home advantage, right? The home crowd buff. But at the San Francisco Shock, you can't really underestimate them.
No.
They're still the Shock, for crying out loud. Like Kaluge and Proper, we saw from the highlights earlier on, even if the rest of the Shock are maybe pushed by the wayside a little bit by the Dallas Fuel, Proper's still coming up with some crazy clips and some crazy carry performances too. Can, although, match him in the Genji 1v1? That is going to be the big question, I think, on our lips.
Yep.
I think we better bring them on stage, though. You know him, you love him. It's the San Francisco Shock. All right, maybe not as much love there for the San Francisco Shock. Of course, Kaluge fam still in the audience, so it's all good.
Chat still likes them.
True.
It's true. And they got both sides of the equation here for sure. But it is a little bit tough as the away team, I guess the home team in this case, but the away team, the visiting team, when you've got such an incredible crowd in the arena, you know? You've got to make sure that you've got that mental there. And I feel like Shock, they're the type of team that actually kind of revel in those moments. They do relish that energy that is kind of against them, and they will fight back.
Yeah, it's about stepping up to the Toronto Defiant. Look, Proper's kind of crazy, right? But can you take down the back line of the Toronto Defiant? Shoring and Twilight looking pretty clean too. They had a hell of a performance yesterday. I mean, all those hitting people with the Ajaxes, like, that guy's blades are insane. Like, Proper maybe MVP level, but although wants to challenge him there, I think we better bring him out, though. The crowd wants to see him. Please welcome the Toronto Defiant. There's one more opponent standing in their way. Give it up for the Toronto Defiant. They take down the Shock. They advance to the finals here at the Summer Showdown. It's going to be tough. The crowd's got their back though, and a lot of people have too at home, I can imagine. I think they're definitely a team that's had an unbelievable rebound from seasons previous. We've got so many superstar players on the roster, and a lot of players too that have come up, like Chorong, for example. His main support player has been Sublime, came from O2 Blast, where a lot of crazy players have come from recently. Proper example, for a good example. But I mean, you've got veterans, you've got rookies, and this is the moment they've really all been waiting for. They came in as the 4th seed. They now go against the 2nd in the Shock, and maybe even the 1st, the Dallas Fuel, later on.
I remember seeing some talk on social media from some of the quotes from these players that they love the fan energy. It's been giving them so much confidence going into these matches. And so you know they're going to be hearing it today. They're going to be seeing the cheers in the crowd for every big play that they make. And they've had some big ones, Jack. Looking at the lower finals yesterday that we've been able to see just their run so far is that, you know, Twilight getting that huge pick onto Merit, that big surprise versus the Houston Outlaws. But then Hisu and Aldo having some of the best matches of their life. And of course, you can't forget Hotva too, that has had some huge rampages just right down the middle of teams.
Who couldn't be a fan of Hotva? Wouldn't be me, that is for sure.
You have a Hotva fact for us?
I should have prepared one, really. Maybe I'll give one to Mitch for the finals.
There you go, yeah.
All right, the players are taken to the stage. They're getting set up. They're already warmed up, that is for sure. And it's going to get pretty hot in here too. Crowd's giving them the energy already. Look, the San Francisco Shock, Kilo and Proper, have been just powerhouses for the Shock over the course of the season. Proper and Aldo and Hisu versus Kilo. Two very different play styles too, in the way Kilo plays. Hisu plays a little bit more passive passive Hisu. Wants to play the Ashe, sit all the way at the back, but his ability to peel for himself is just extraordinary, which allows Chorong and Twilight to just go, well, why would you go to the back line? It's all good. Like, Chorong's fragging ability on the Lucio is just incredible.
Yeah, Chorong has had an incredibly aggressive style of Lucio, being able to get up and personal in the faces of their opponents. And so you'll see that his damage stats are actually very high for Lucios that we have seen in this stage of the tournament. But, you know, it's going to be a tough one when you've also got Violet on the other side.
Map number 1. We're jumping into the game right now. We don't want to wait any longer. It is Nepal, Toronto Defiant versus the San Francisco Shock. It's 1st to 3 for a place in the finals later on today.
Got Nepal coming up as our first match of the series. And this is actually the first time that we're going to see Nepal in our series in the West. We actually just saw it this morning in the APAC Summer Showdown, but it's all time to see what's going to happen. This was San Francisco Shock's pick, so maybe they've got some spice that they have been working on to be able to play this match, because as it stands, both of these teams have actually only played Nepal once in this stage as it has re-entered into the map pool. San Francisco Shock actually taking a loss with Toronto Defiant, getting a win on this map, but still not a large sample size to really go off of. And especially when we know that San Francisco Shock really like to go for this symmetric teleporter strat with Kilo and then have him switch back over to some type of hit scan. We're gonna have to see them meet in the middle.
All right, round 1, map 1. Let's get it. Yep, Hisu and Kilo, very different picks. Got to watch out though, like you said, Rose. Chorong's ability to get aggressive is something that maybe Kilo or any of the San Francisco Shock should fear. Taking a aggressive angle here if you're the Toronto Defiant is good. Hisu gets so much more space on the Ashe. The dynamites on this map are pretty devastating because there's not many places you can kind of hold that are behind cover. The point is so open. As you see, it's unlocked. And although it's the 1-2 contest, oh no! Finn just hits Hopper with a whip shot to start off the fight. Looked like Finn was just hiding around the corner then, waiting for Hopper to make a move, and they do just that, and Chorong also falls. Toronto Defiant end up losing their tank and their Lucio player as the Shock cap first.
Toronto Defiant playing a little bit split up there, but especially when you've got Hisu that can play as an individual unit, you can really allow him to play a little bit more in solitude. As you look at how the Shock are going to approach this point, you will start to see them split up, and that's really where Toronto Defiant can take advantage as they start isolating targets as well. But Hisu has to be careful because that deflect on the side of Proper could send a lot of these shots back to him when they hit true, but not that one.
Can't heal that. Can't heal that either. Although in Hisu, finding a couple of kills, there it is. That's what the crowd want to see, Toronto. Little team kill there on the Shock, and a point flip for Toronto Defiant.
Shock did walk away with 30%, but Defiant are going to be able to match that pretty easily, and look how much value Hisu has been getting so far with those dynamites. No matter how the Shock decide to approach this point, they are going to be running into some type of dynamite, some type of big damage, when although also just kind of looking to deflect. Hoppa's already there, Chorong has already taken one down!
Kilo dead, Shock a little bit in shambles as Hisu finds the Skull of Twilight. The San Francisco Shock pushed all the way back to spawn. Hisu right now doubling the damage output and then some of his opposite in Kilo. Same with although double the damage currently. You can see it in the ult charge rows. Bob and Blade up for Defiant.
Exactly, but it's not only just that too. They've got the sustainability. Chorong and Twilight are going to have those support ultimates online too. Hoppa, once again, Defiant, they're trying to set up for the same type of play that they made before. Are Shock going to fall?
Bit of a split push there from the San Francisco Shock. It's met with a Blade of Low. Although Shock do end up using that beat, as now Defiant want to push a little bit quicker as they use that rally. The San Francisco Shock don't really have a ton of time. It's 70% on the board, as although he's trying to find an angle where he can get behind the San Francisco Shock. A good amount of dynamite damages. Hisu holds onto that Bob. He lets it loose. Bob's charging straight to the backline of San Francisco Shock as Chorong finds a boot kill onto Kilo. They surge forward with that beat, and the Shock don't know what hit him. The Toronto Defiant now putting Shock in final fight territory. A rampage, a desperation one at that from Kaluge. It hits 3, but Toronto is standing defiant on this first round. And even spawn camping now. They know the Shock have to touch.
Yeah, and they don't really have those sustainability ults anymore. The rampage!
Rampage from Hopper, sending Shock reeling all the way back to spawn, and no one can touch. Toronto Defiant taking round number 1.
Look at that, even the spawn doors closing on the Shock right there. No one else can be able to come out of that one. But Defiant with a nice, clean round number 1. I love the examples that you can see too of Chorong's aggressiveness, where he is going to be wall riding, trying to get behind the shield of Finn and getting those headshots from behind him. Can't really move the shield up to be able to protect you that way. But we've got to take a look at this replay, because look at how far Chorong is up in the skybox and gets a massive boop onto Kilo, just completely removing that damage from the side of the Shock.
Highlighted him earlier. He's a standout main support in this meta. You've got to know when to be aggressive, when to be defensive, help Twilight out. But Chorong, with almost the perfect mix of both, is something that Violet's been doing pretty well on the Lucio too, mind you. Give Shock a little props there. All right. Next round. Very different starts from both Defiant and the Shock. They do end up on opposite sides of the map rather than clashing head-to-head.
Well, that Symmetric Teleporter was able to get the Shock to the point first, but the rotation that Defiant took to go to the high ground, they're going to be able to save a lot of those important cooldowns for this first fight.
Kilo going pretty low already. Takes a headshot from Hisu again. Hisu winning this 1v1 handily. The San Francisco Shock just wiped. An unbelievably quick team kill from Defiant. That's exactly how round 1 started out. They're going to continue this.
I mean, now they get to play a little bit more aggressive too. Look at the sight lines that Hisu is able to get onto the Shock. Shock's gonna have to take this route through the building to try to negate some of the damage that will be coming their way, but the rotation from the Defiant means that they're going to have this space to work with so they can just shoot at the Shock.
Oh, nice little knife there from Hopper. A little bit of chunk damage, didn't pull anybody in. As the San Francisco Shock trying to make their second push. Although he's been farming this blade, something crazy. He's on 80% already. Proper's pretty low, in fact, in the back. He's got a dash and no reflect. He does dash back to the rest of his team as Finn is there to save him with a whip shot and a pack. Although also pretty low, still farming that blade. He is 50% ahead of Proper right now in terms of blade charge, and Chorong has the beat online. 2 ultimates for the Toronto Defiant, just against the singular for the San Francisco Shock. There's both beats coming out as Although just hangs onto that blade. Hisu didn't receive any of that beat, but it might not need it. Although pops the blade, dashes straight towards Finn as Hopper finishes him off. Although gets a reset and goes straight for Kaluge. He's so low, but all the meanwhile, this is actually turning out to be a trade. Hisu and Hopper are dead. Shock might be able to come back into this one with Kilo finding a couple of kills off onto the side. Although, and Hopper tried to make a play, but although he's still holding down the fort, the early rally from Twilight is going to keep them on the point in control as the San Francisco Shock struggle to make any space.
All those plays were flashy, but I've got to give that credit to Twilight right there. And this is what the Defiant are known for. You can look back to their matches in the Summer Showdown. They love playing when their backs are against the wall with members down and still winning those team fights.
There's the rally from Finn. The Bob's going to come out, try and chunk some of that overhealth away. And Disruptor shots doing a fair bit of damage to the Toronto Defiant, but they should be good as they now move forward, try and make an opening. Proper's going pretty low. He's got some damage down, but no kills just yet. You see, although they're standing in front of his teammate trying to get the deflection, so Proper can't get any damage done. Overtime is here as the Toronto Defiant try and just hold on to this point. A rampage from Hopper in a 4v5. An equally good rampage, though, from Kaluge. It hits, although Hopper and Chorong, as they are bleeding to death, but Kilo's been taken out. Toronto Defiant still standing firm on the point, but the Shock do manage to find the flip. They were just inching closer, chunking out Hopper is going to be the name of the game right now. But Finn actually ends up going down. Toronto Defiant are keeping themselves in this fight. The Shock are going to do the same thing by using that beat.
Oh, so scrappy. Violet goes down. Where was the beat?
No beat. Violet's beat just disappearing. Hisu takes care of 2, although Cake and go Proper. 99% for the Toronto Defiants. They keep themselves in this fight somehow, some way. And they take the first map from the Shock. Toronto Defiant. What an unbelievable start. So quick, so decisive. The Shock only controlled the point for mere moments. And Toronto always willing to fight those 4-on-5s, 3-on-5s. What a fantastic start.
Was Shock's choice, but it looked like it was a bit of a mistake. Toronto, of course, with that win earlier on in the Summer Showdown qualifiers, really came with the experience today to be able to play this out.
They're 1 map up, Toronto. Only a couple more to go. San Francisco Shock, we'll see how they want to come back. It's their map choice after this.
Getting the win is everything.
It's going to be a banger of a series.
One of these teams is going to be taking the first loss. Ashe for Ashe, Genji for Genji, Brigand Lucio for Brigand Lucio, and of course, Junker Queen for Junker Queen. But the Rampage comes in, it catches almost every single member of the team. That wasn't a recontest, that was a massacre. FT God drops the B and it gets cancelled. The boop. And then it's a shooting gallery for Shockwave, being able to try and find that bar. Nanoboost now comes, it doesn't even need the power.
Mercy midair, what can't this man do? Xrath is going off right now, but he gets slept again from Xrath. Once again, Moxie. Definitely a star and a player in contenders. Shockwave finds Dala. Shockwave finds Sana, so that's already 2. On to Graphin as well. 3, make it 4. Why not, Shockwave? Show how good you are, buddy. And Yazan can't find him. Then no, he gets killed by Psycho. That's popping a blade. Yoko is going to go down to the jagged blade of Twals. Face Twisted Minds weren't ready for, but they still pop the rally. I think they're going to win this fight. But Yoko! And of course, he hits us with the emote as well.
We're here live in Toronto for the losers finals. Toronto Defiant and the San Francisco Shock. Winner here goes on to the finals later on today to face the Dallas Fuel. What a quick first map that was, Rose. Nepal 2-0 for the Toronto Defiant.
And it wasn't close. That wasn't close at all. Toronto, are you ready for this? Toronto crushed the Shock. 28 kills to 9 final blows on Nepal and almost 8.6 damage difference over them too. Huge testament to how fast Toronto Defiant were playing. Really weren't giving San Francisco Shock a chance to set up either, because you could see the aggression, how close to spawn they really were pushing for these fights.
Yeah, 8,500 damage difference is
ridiculous.
Unbelievable. Yeah, he's just finding a lot of value, same with Although right now. Shocks can still come back though, don't forget. This is their map choice. So we are going to Hollywood. To be fair, which is a good map for Ashe. We'll see if San Francisco Shock want to kind of stray that way, or they're happy with just Kilo on the Sojourn. We've seen what Twilight can do on this map. We saw it in the highlights earlier on today. Him just camping in the like the security cam room on first, and then flanking the entire team and killing the Ashe. That's not normally, really. Let's be real with ourselves here. You don't normally see Breaks just flanking, getting solo kills like that. I don't think it will happen to the Shock. I mean, let's be real with ourselves. Violet and Twilight go in that head-to-head. Like, Violet's going to be at the back rather fast, just booping Twilight away. No funny business here. You can't. Any slip-up can cost you a whole bunch, especially on a hybrid map too. We've seen a couple of first holds throughout the qualifiers. Hollywood, I think, is rather a fickle one.
We've seen both of these teams, though, take a little bit of an interesting approach when it comes to what you're going to do on that hit scan. It looks like San Francisco Shock feel very comfortable on hybrid defense, actually going with the Sojourn pick here. And yeah, look at that stat card at the bottom.
That is crazy. The Shock have never lost to Defiant. 8-0 in matches against Toronto of all time. So this could be Toronto's first ever win as a franchise against the San Francisco Shock.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of this is going to depend on how Toronto Defiant decide to play along these longer sight lines that Kilo is going to be able to get. Kilo, especially when the Defiant are playing as aggressive as they are, will have time to build up those railgun shots. But when Toronto Defiant are looking to play this aggressive game, they're going to be rushing out of the doors with that speed boost from Chorong, that commanding shout from Hoppa, and Hisu, of course, looking to make quick work of the back line with Although. San Francisco Shock already running for the hills a little bit, having to back up and give some space over to the Defiant.
Yeah, they've actually given up Cafe control completely. Hoppa's on the point, securing hopefully that 33%. San Francisco Shock yet to make a move. Okay, they're doing it, pushing on to not give away a free tick. Although ends up going down. Imagine that was a kill near Cafe. Rob was just teasing him a little bit. He was on the low ground for a brief moment. But a very quick disengage from the Defiant, not wasting too much time.
Yeah, and they can't, because it's already going to take a lot of time to be able to actually get to the first objective and try to capture it. And so when you notice that you only have 3 minutes left, the time is against you, but you've got to go fast.
That's exactly what Toronto Defiant are doing right now. Like an F1 car. Zipping through these streets. Toronto Defiant just throw out a big dynamite. don't find any initial kills, so another re-entry just from the front of the point now. Oh, Kilo takes a body shot and then a headshot from Hisu, takes him out of the equation. And Violet's pretty low behind that dumpster over there. Maybe belongs in it. Looks like Hisu wants to give it to him. That Dynamite doing a ton of work from Hisu already. And he built up his ult so quickly. He is 66% towards that Bob. And if Toronto Defiant, they get the cap here, they're able to push out quickly. If they take the high ground, Hisu's going to have free reign over the Shock. But Shock, look, they're playing all the way close. They're actually just trying to push the payload from Cafe.
Well, I mean, they might even get the sound barrier online to keep it up, but Proper is going to get really low here.
Yeah, I don't think he was expecting all those to be there. Sub 40 HP. He's trying to stop Hisu from rejoining the rest of his team. Hisu's isolated right now as the San Francisco Shock use the beat to try and again capitalize on the split members of Toronto. And they do so with ease. Violet claiming 2 kills. Toronto have barely got that car through the doors. But hyper-aggression from the San Francisco Shock will win them that fight.
I mean, Shock can push up to the spawn room doors now. It might force Hisu to use the Bob a little bit earlier than he wants to, just to be able to get out of spawn. But once you use the Bob, you can use that as a zoning. Oh, actually, they're just gonna wrap around the Shock.
A little flip. Little flip of sides, maybe. Double rally. Hopper trying to set up. Bob's coming through. Proper dead. Hopper with a huge carnage. That rampage might not even be needed, to be fair. Kalush is super low, and Twilight knocks him for 6. And the rest of Shock are going to follow. There's the win for the Defiant. Now they can take that high ground, Rose. They only use the Bob and the rally. 3 ultimates. They got Blade and Rampage up right now.
And they got both of the support ultimates out of the Shock already. You saw the sound barrier used by Violet for Shock to get aggressive, and Finn responding to the Bob with the rally. So neither of those are going to be able to save them from all those Blade. They're already taking the high ground. Proper's going to go
the
first.
Blade. Look at the defense coming out from Twilight. He's just running towards Proper. He does not care that you have a Blade. Finn very much should care. All those got one though. The Toronto Defiant, with that support ult advantage, like you were saying, Rose, are just pushing Violet all the way back to their second spawn.
This is going to be huge too, because with Hoppa having the Rampage online first, you can hold very aggressive on these stairs and Shock. That's their easiest route of ingress to be able to get back to the point, to be able to contest it. Taking this Dynamite damage too. Look at where Hoppa is. Watch out.
Look at the meters. 3 meters to go. The Rampage hits 2. Hisu ends up going down first, but if they can clean up Violet and Kalush, the Toronto Defiant might be in a good spot. No more ultimates from Toronto, however, so they might not be able to finish this fight. And the Shock are more than happy with this. The payload's going to inch back, but Toronto is still playing far up.
They are, and they should probably take an eco push here. I mean, Twilight is pretty close to the rally, but that's not going to be enough to save them from the rampage that Kaluj has built up to. Violet as well with that sound barrier does have that sustainability advantage, but when Defiant can play so close, they can get both of those ultimates out and then go in with the DPS ults they're going to build up here.
All right. Hisu playing Sheriff right now on top of that jail. As Kalush is hugging this corner. Carnage comes out, there's the rally from Toronto Defiant. Kalush now backing up after using that shout. Beat comes in, his chance to go. Hisu still shooting him in the back, and no one from the San Francisco Shock right now can get to Hisu. But the Toronto Defiant once again kind of isolate themselves around these corners, and the Shock are able to clean up.
But look at that, you got 2 high-value ultimates out of the Shock. You will have to contest with Proper's Dragon Blade and Finn's rally, but oh, look at this. Ooh. All right, a big stagger here. Trong is playing Lucio, so he will be able to taxi everybody back from the Defiant. Hisu does have the Bob, but it's Bob versus the rally right now. Maybe Proper gets that Dragon Blade too, but Toronto Defiant are starting to run out of a little bit of time here. It's gonna be the last minute of this second objective, and they're contesting for high ground.
Yeah, Shock are doing a really good job of burning that time bank down. Payload is still pretty close. It's one fight territory, realistically, for the Toronto Defiant if they find a nice wipe. Finn with the rally, Proper with the Blade versus the Bob, and potentially the Blade from Aldo. Ultimate advantage right now in favor of the Shock. With 40 seconds to go, if they can stall out for a little bit longer, make this final fight. Bob's already out. It's kind of laying waste to Shock, but they end up backing off into the bar. But look at the payload. The Toronto Defiant make use of that space and put themselves on it. What a pull from Kaluj. The knife hits Hisu and he pulls him straight into him. But although those take down Kaluj, they actually make a play into the bar. Proper pulls the blade. There's no support ultimates available from the Defiant now as they used their beat earlier on in that fight, and Proper dispatches with both the backliners of the Toronto Defiant. With 10 seconds to go, the San Francisco Shock holding just before this second point.
Might not even be anybody from Defiant to be able to get there, so this could be where the cart stops. Finn also holding the door, but there it is. That is where the cart will stop for round number 1.
Pretty decent push. Crowd's still behind them. Still like the little Kaluge heads. They look so funny. See little Kaluge heads every now and then popping up in the crowd.
I like it.
All right. The Shock know exactly how far they need to get. Toronto Defiant have set the pace car. Winton really do that. He jump, he zap, he ult, he nap.
Not going to see the Winton in this matchup. Probably,
not.
I know, yeah. We might see the Twilight Ana though. That would be pretty clutch, that's for sure. But Toronto Defiant do get to go on the defense now. We've seen how impressive the Ashe can be when it comes to playing on the cafe ledge, maybe over on the other building on the high ground, just to be able to get those long sight lines. And he's just been able to get some big first picks as well. But can Proper go in there, maybe bait out a huge shot, go in with the deflect, send it right back. You know where that card is and where they've got to get it to. So Shock, they're definitely going to be looking at getting over that benchmark, and hey, that means we get more maps too.
True, that is very true. Sometimes it's important to have that goal in mind, and if you defend first, you know exactly where you really need to play and how far you need to play for. And in a way, you can judge your ultimate economy and how you want to end up pushing through the second point if you know it's just before that.
Twilight's
Oh, is he being sneaky?
by security.
Oh, look at him go. No, he's fine.
Okay.
Hey,
Aw.
I mean, fool me once, right?
If he did it again.
Oh, although it takes a bit of damage. Gets a free cookie there from Twilight. You can slide over this roof still. That's still a possibility. Proper's going pretty low. Still has to fight, but look at this. They're pushing from the San Francisco Shock. They've managed to isolate Hopper. Hopper's fighting his way out. And in fact, Twilight and Choron with a perfect peel. Hopper does not die to those. And the Shock now have lost their tank. So Defiant can just basically run them down. A nice little boop onto Violet. He's trapping the doorway. He does manage to get out in time, but these stagger kills could be quite big, Rose. Oh, Kilo, yeah. No way near Finn and Violet. He ended up getting booped away. There's so much displacement in this meta, as Isu finds another exit kill onto Violet.
Well, it's very smart how Toronto Defiant played that too. Hoppa basically played as bait to be able to go into that corridor where all of that backstage is, and then Toronto Defiant wrapped around to be able to isolate that pick onto Kaluge. And then the stackers as well. Look at this, 2.5 minutes. Toronto Defiant going in fast.
A little speed boost, commanding shout and amp. He's still getting a fair bit of damage done with the Dynamite. He's leading the server right now in terms of damage. Just over 7k. That high ground's pretty nice to play from, but it's a very easy dagger spot. So you can throw Gracie up there. Good disengage from Hisu, but it's not enough. Proper chases him down, a quick shuriken headshot, and now Twilight alone. He is going to be able to bash away, but not after Proper can follow enough with a reset on his own dash. Although does find Finn, and in fact, look at this, Toronto Defiant still fighting. A two-man beat, the blade has been pulled, although he's low, use the deflect, trying to find a target, gets a big slash, but it's not enough damage. Him and Choron were the only people left on that point to try and finish off the Shock, but it wasn't to be. The Shock, they have a couple of ults, Toronto Defiant unable to touch, and they'll get that payload going.
Big thing here for Defiant is that they did get out that sound barrier from Violet. But also, when you look at the fact that Proper has the blade, Trong does not have the sound barrier anymore to be able to contest with that, but it is 4 minutes on the clock. So Toronto Defiant do know what they have to play for here and where that benchmark has been set. Hisu can also just send the Bob into the back line of the Shock and maybe force out the rally there so that Hoppa can go in with that Rampage.
You've really got to get that Bob in a good position where he can shoot on the back line, but there's so many cubbies and little hiding holes you can run into. Especially with the Lucio, it is pretty easy with the speed, so yeah. While Bob is a pretty damn good ability and a pretty handsome gentleman, it's sometimes hard to get value on this point in the map. Even, to be fair, if you get a knock-up on the support as well, that's a death sentence more often than not. Speaking of Bob, nice little boop from Finn, but actually, Bob's in a nice little position. Finn ends up finishing him off, but a 3-man rampage from Hopper, who's going pretty low. He is swinging away as Kilu takes a body shot from Hisu. But trading your tank for a DPS, I think Shock are going to be happy with that one, as you can see them right now pushing forwards.
They're going to be backing up as well because Defiant can't get anybody here. They actually have to force the rally now.
Yeah, Proper's going in for that blade. Oh, he finds one reset, a second one, although there's no deflect left. Prop with a 3k Dragon Blade. Toronto Defiant on their last legs. Twilight's rally completely negated. Another Defiant have to come back in with no ults. They go against a Rampage and a beat.
They can't split. They're going to have to split up here, or else Kalush is going to be able to get everything. Look how they're going to try to split through the back and the front.
They should be able to touch, but they actually get moved away, although gets the final touch with the dash. But the beat's been used by the San Francisco Shock. The Toronto Defiant need to be able to survive, but the carnage from Kalush is going to be too much damage. Not enough healing for Toronto as the San Francisco Shock tie up the series.
Crowd doesn't seem happy about that one, but that does tie up the series. So Shock fans might be feeling themselves a little bit here, as that was Shock's map choice. And despite the fact that that is a great map for Ashe, San Francisco Shock were able to overcome that difference and get that map win. But now, the cards go back over to the Defiant. They get a chance to choose the next one.
They do indeed. Blistering pace on the first map. Toronto not quite the same for Hollywood as San Francisco take it on their map pick. Toronto Defiance turn to choose. Going to a escort map. We'll see you in a sec.
that lightning doesn't strike twice has never met the San Francisco Shock.
Just the depth of talent on their roster that can't be denied.
Some of the most hardcore carry performances that I've ever seen.
This is going to be a wild ride.
Somehow Violet's going to come to the rescue, get a double kill. Kalu says, how about that one, Chief? See you later.
Dude, his aim is so crispy.
Doesn't miss those, holy cow!
Sam straights the backline, instant killing. Oh, Mikey!
San Francisco, the greatest team in Overwatch.
We're more than halfway through the season, and it's time to keep collecting those OWL tokens for the upcoming Team Mix Legendary skins. Yeah, you know those skins that we're releasing through the season? Yeah, well, you get some Team Mix ones from the winners of the tournaments. It's pretty exciting stuff. Sign up for the OWL newsletter as well on the website for some extra tokens. Offer expires pretty soon, so yeah, make sure you go and do that. But back to the game at hand. Toronto Defiant and the San Francisco Shock both one apiece right now after that Hollywood game was taken by the Shock. Toronto get their choice for the map. We are going to Dorado, Rose, as our next one.
Dorado seems like a very smart pick as well for the Toronto Defiant because the Ashe can get really nice value playing off of the high ground. But not only that, remember how we mentioned that San Francisco Shock and Toronto Defiant have played already this season? While the Shock may have won 3-1, the one map Toronto were able to take off of them was Dorado. So maybe this is where they're able to get another win here today. And it's also one of their best maps too. They played it 8 times, sitting at 5-3 record. And so the Toronto Defiant definitely feel comfortable going on to Dorado.
Gives Hisu a nice little sightline too.
Exactly.
For the Ashe. Yeah, you can imagine a lot of the maps are going to be centered around how well Hisu can play that. I like that they have been mixing it up a little bit with the Sojourn too, but man. The Shock refusing to go down without a fight. It is crazy to think that the Shock were almost undefeated coming into the qualifiers, of course, beaten by the Dallas Fuel for their first loss in a long time.
Right, it was a 17-match win streak that they snapped, which was, and it was even more than that too if you look at how they played at the tail end of the regular season for 2021 as well. So, no, the Shock, they're tried, they're tested. Are they true when you look at how they're able to tie up the series as well?
It's all about that momentum. As soon as you get that on stage, you build up that confidence. They're definitely used to it at this point. And remember how the Shock performed in Kickoff Clash, just not living up to people's expectations whatsoever. They were undefeated at that point coming into the tournament, and then they just kind of got dominated. And you're like, wow, really? On LAN, Shock? And after these performances from Proper and Kilo at the beginning of the year, very surprising stuff.
It was surprising, but I think when you look at how young San Francisco Shock's roster is, and maybe you know how a lot of them are rookies coming into this season, they haven't really had that Overwatch League LAN experience before, but they're hungry for it. I mean, you've heard how they have adjusted and adapted since then, their mental reset, looking at how they want to approach this particular tournament. So they're definitely hungry to prove that they can go a little bit further than that 4th place finish on LAN. Ooh. But unless Toronto Defiant have something to say about it, take a look at this. Actually, Toronto, on the defense, they're gonna go ahead and use the Ashe, but whoa.
So, yeah, although he's still in the spawn.
This?
Okay.
Whoa.
Proper does know he's there. Proper now has to play Gatekeeper, but although Base has infinite health, he can just back up and get a HP from the spawn room. Nice little dynamite. Kilo already used that coach gun. And this is exactly what Toronto Defiant wanted to force out. That coach gun is such a key ability for the Ashe to keeping herself safe. And the rest of her team too. Got to be careful though. Boops could be deadly on this portion of the map. I don't think I've ever seen a fight here. And Toronto Defiant are not going to make it last long at all.
It was really big because Chorong was able to actually get out of spawn really quickly, go over to the high ground of these buildings, and then use a wraparound onto the Shock to actually force them in a position where they had to play that close to spawn. San Francisco Shock did get a nice close hold, so they will be able to have an easy time coming back into this one to contest. But Aldo walked away with almost double the damage as Proper in that first fight, so that Dragon Blade could be coming online very quickly. Proper actually takes a huge headshot there.
Another headshot. Oh! This guy only headshots people. Nothing else. Violet takes a double headshot from Hisu. The San Francisco Shock health bars looking rather slim. Oh yes, that's Toronto Defiant. They're going to claim point A. 4 minutes and 50 seconds. Dominant first push.
Notice as well that the Defiant are doing a lot of focus fire onto Kilo and Proper on San Francisco Shock. Whether it's sending Chorong after Proper or just kind of Hisu keeping Kilo in check. Kilo has been on the Ashe for this map to play it on the defense just to be able to contest with Hisu and also take advantage of the defense, but Hisu's gonna have the Bob. 4 ultimates online here for the Defiant. They just have to take this high ground presence away from the Shock.
Ooh. See Chorong there trying to get that boop. You know, Finn, look at him. You can see that shield tilting upwards. Yeah, Chorong, rather cheeky. But it does stop actually Shock playing right next to that edge and getting some free damage down, to be fair. So it's not all for naught. Okay, although looking like he wants to communicate a blade here. He do be chatting quite quickly. 5 ultimates online for the Defiant, pretty much.
He's
they
thinking.
Importantly, Shock here have 2 support ultimates. They seal, though, moving into the bank, now onto the high ground, and this is Shock's time to go. The Bob is used, the blade from Although has been pulled. Oh, Proper, he can get away for the time being, but he can't get away from Kilo. Kilo shot him in the back of the head. Although tried to make a executive play there to take care of Proper, who has the blade online. They do end up trading a couple of DPS. Kilo for Although. But still high ground control from Toronto Defiant. A lot of ultimates used. It was an expensive fight to not get too much distance.
Shock only had to use a sound barrier too. But look at Twilight going in with a rampage and setting the pace.
With the blade. A huge rampage coming out from Hopper. Hits Proper, destroying his blade. The San Francisco Shock can still rely on that rally though. Finn has been using it for quite some time as the overhead was building, but the damage coming out from Hisu might be a little bit too much. A return rampage from Kaluz does hit 3 members of the Toronto Defiant, but they're able to heal up. Over-aggression from the Shock is rewarded with a kill onto Twilight and Chorong. Hisu can't win this 1v1, maybe takes another person with him as Hopper is still in this fight. With Although dying and no support for the Toronto Defiant, don't look like they're gonna cap B. Nope, stop just in time. Oh, give it to him, Kaluz.
Oh, look at that.
Crowd aren't happy with that one, I can tell you that right now, if you can't hear that at home.
Yeah, that's just Kaluz trying to give it to Hoppa right now. I don't think Hoppa's gonna take that too kindly though on the comeback here as Defiant make another approach. It's 2 minutes remaining here to be able to capture point B, and it's a bit of an even fight right now. Remember, you noted how expensive one of those fights was to be able to make it to the midpoint of the map until Shock stopped them. But because of where the card is, Toronto Defiant can actually take this wraparound to just play around the cart.
Hisu doesn't really have as much protection as Kilo does now. Oh, Violet taking a whip shot. Twilight again comes up big. His whip shot's unbelievably accurate. And now Proper's in trouble. Has to use the deflect and the dash to get away. And remember, Toronto Defiant are on the attack, by the way. It may look like they're on the defense. Twilight comes up with another kill. Kilo forced all the way back. A non-factor in this fight is that Ashe from the Shock. As the Toronto Defiant push forward, they're going to cap C, or B even.
Yeah, it might be a C cap as well. I mean, look at that. Chorong, Twilight now having double support ultimates ready. And that last pick onto Violet does deny Shock from being able to come in and get this aggressive hold. Look at Although too. Trying to get some poke damage, get this blade online, and then maybe take a flank to be able to go in after Shock's backline. It really is a race against Finn and Violet getting those support ultimates.
Yeah, they are pretty close. The rally will definitely be online, although we'll have to do something rather freakish to get that blade before Violet gets his beat. Violet as well. There's also been a Lucio that builds beats so quickly in first fights. He's sometimes the person with the ultimate up first, which is insane when you really think about it. One of the slower ultimate building abilities in the game. Oh, well, you can't build or use ult if you're dead. They do end up trading as the rally is popped from the Shock. They want to keep themselves in this fight, and they're going to. They can almost guarantee it with that kill onto Chorong, but with Twilight alive and a rally coming out, Toronto Defiant know they have to battle only against that Lucio healing from the Shock, but the spawn points are pretty close. 2 minutes to go as the Toronto Defiant push onto high ground.
Look, Charong is actually going to be taxiing Hisu back to this fight as well as Defiant take control of the high ground. Coming back into this one with 3 ultimates, they're looking to try to get that sound barrier out of Violet.
There's the shout and the blade pulled. Oh, 1,000 HP although. Oh, it seems pretty easy to get kills now. Proper's isolated himself, he's 1 HP, 1 Shuriken will do it. Although turns his attention to the rest of his team as the San Francisco Shock almost get bowled over by Hopper. That Rampage is pretty decent and here come the kills. Although gets 1 and Hisu with another. Violet getting back to Proper to heal him up and also escort him out. But again, they've split up. The trio team from the Toronto Defiant, although Charong and Twilight are just handily dealing with Proper's flanks.
It's all about that support. Toronto Defiant is putting so many resources into Aldo to make sure that he stays up and going into the back line, but Kaluj, look how low he's getting so far. Hoppa really wants to contest with this one, but knows he has to back up to make sure that they stay alive because it's less than a minute remaining, and Toronto want to push this all the way to the end.
It was rather similar to Hollywood Rose, what we were on a second ago. And Carnage only hitting 1. Rampage comes out. Kaluj only hits Hopper though. Can the San Francisco Shock target him? They can. The bleed finishes him off. 30 seconds to go right now as the Toronto Defiant find the opening pick they need onto Proper. Violet also follows. Twilight keeping his team alive with that rally. The Toronto Defiant's tank is spawning in just a moment and will make it back to the point in a couple of seconds at most. 18 seconds to go as Kaluj is focused down. Toronto a couple of meters before they get that point.
Look at that, and Hoppa came back on the Doomfist too, just to be able to get back faster. Finn is gonna chase them away a little bit with the rally, but they're gonna wait for that overhealth to expire before going back in again. Defiant want to get this sound barrier online.
All right, point contested. Hopper was in there to get that touch. That defensive fist has already been used and Kilo takes care of him. That seismic slam hit the roof so he didn't get the aerial velocity he needed to get back to the rest of his team. 4v5. Oh, Defiant, I think the beat just got interrupted by the punch. Kaluj comes up big with a Doomfist punch onto Charong. Sound barrier interrupted. The San Francisco Shot in good spot to stop the Defiant just before that 3rd point. I have to get a replay of that one real fast, but I'm 99% sure Kaluj interrupted Charong's beat with a punch.
The clutch factor, though, that Shock have with the Doomfist. I mean, every time you see Kaluj have to make that kind of panic switch to get back to the Doomfist, more often than not, it does result in a team fight win. But Defiant did make it almost to the end of the map. And so 77.44 meters, that's it. That's it. That's all they need to be able to defend from to be able to take this map.
Look, Hollywood was Shock's map choice. This is Defiant. You'd expect them to do pretty well on the defense, especially with Hisu on the Ashe. Like I mentioned, at that starting point, this guy's only hitting headshots. His aim has always been extremely good. It's felt like only a matter of time before he reached peak potential and peak performance again. Crowd's still very much behind Toronto right now.
Got to look at the Hisu Kilo head-to-head though on the Ashe. You know, Shock, they've been playing mostly the Sojourn, but Kilo will go over to the Ashe in certain circumstances, and Dorado so far has been one of those. Shock did play the Ashe on the defense. Kilo's gonna use it again on the offense. Let's see how much he can get done. Right now, Hisu is gonna be leading in eliminations, 19-3, and then also Kilo kind of having half that at 7. So Hisu seems like he's kind of winning out that stat war right now, but it's about the team play.
Yeah, Shock taking a very different approach too. They don't go for this wraparound with the teleporter. Oh, that's a big dynamite. Although once again, playing in the backline of the San Francisco Shock or any team he faces against. Very confident in his team to back him up if he really needs it. Hopper ends up getting booped out of the way and taken care of. Oh, what a quick push from the Shock. This is important too. Dorado first, we've seen a lot of crazy things on Dorado first, to be fair, like a lot of full holds.
Yeah,
but quite a punishing point.
You kind of expect that you'll at least be able to get past the car wash though, right? And so, again, with that closer hold, Defiant can come back into this one to recontest. With the high ground that they can take to. Look at Chorong, Aldo. Twilight trying to lead the charge here too. Kilo's on an off angle, but Aldo has sniffed that out.
Yeah.
You can get some nice damage down if you're able to poke around that second doorway, but yeah. Although with a heads-up play, couple of shots, Kilo gets knifed in. Gracie pulling him back, but he's got the coach gun. One of the best abilities really for Ash to disengage from. Gracie, gotta wait for you to actually get pulled in before you end up pushing yourself away. There is the beat, a very early one from Violet to try and cap this point. Hopper has to be on there to touch, although takes down Violet, but the beat and the rally, the shock, have just got so many support ultimates. Finally, Toronto Defiant end up using theirs, but Finn takes care of Twilight before that overhealth can be built up. It's Bob on Bob. But Kilo standing all the way in the back just wasn't hindered. He used the space that Violet created for the shock, using that beat, marching forward with the speed boost to then get 3 shots on the front line of Toronto.
Exactly, and you know, it looked really dicey for Shock as well. Violet actually got isolated away, Hoppa pulling them into the rest of the Defiant as they wrapped back around behind that first point. But Hoppa eventually had to go in alone because they were leaving the cart uncontested. But Toronto do get to take the high ground here, but what is going on over on the other side? Finn and Kilo kind of like walking along this ledge. Okay, Finn falls off a little bit, so they can't really go for that flank completely. But Proper is going to be trying to get set up here for this blade. And it seems like Hoppa has been the primary target for the Shock as well, trying to take out that front line.
Yeah, removing the ability to commanding shout the rest of your team is pretty big. Speed boost, extra HP, right? You can see how much attention Proper is paying to him. Blade's being pulled by, although, oh, they're in a small room. Look at this, a lot of damage done. Again, this is all Choron, and although just pushing as a pair, using that speed boost with the blade, you can even amp heals in the middle of using the amp speed to give you some additional sustainability while using that. The San Francisco Shock, they take the small loss there, but they will go again. They've got a blade of their own.
And the blade, there's not really a great answer from Defiant unless you're going to go in just kind of bare bones with the Twilight Shield Bash, Torong being able to kite away from that damage, but also Hoppa and Kaluge, they both have the Rampage online right now.
Oh wow, Hoppa just jumped down behind him, hit a 3-man Rampage. Kilo's the whole heap of hurt, you can see, although instantly jumping on top of him. They know that's a lot of damage now missing from the San Francisco Shock. And now the high ground is Toronto's once again. 2 minutes and 30 seconds is going to remain for the Shock.
Hoppa as well, just with those Rampages, is going to be doing a bit more damage than Kaluge right now. But Kaluge, we've seen how good those Rampages can be. Maybe 5-man, 4-man Rampage. But Defiant, they're up on the high ground. It's going to be more difficult for Kaluge to be able to approach and get that done unless the Defiant drop down.
Finn actually got pulled in with Gracie. Although ignores that completely and just kills Kilo. Once again, Chorong, and although always in the back line, Blade's been pulled by Proper, goes full on anime mode in the midair, kills Hisu as he was coach gunning away. The Toronto Defiant lose their main source of damage now, as although it is staying alive, but not for long. He is cut to smithereens. The San Francisco Shock are gonna unlock the last stretch of this map. This was Toronto Defiant's map choice as they chase Twilight all the way back to their third spawn. 3 minutes to go. That golden box of victory just around that corner.
Shock almost got Chorong too as he was running away with like a quarter of HP left. But they get to come back out as a full team of 5. The double support ultimates feel really good as well. Especially when Shock, they might go in with this rally just to engage, make sure they have that overhealth. Bob on Bob again, though. They might have another showdown on the map.
I mean, Bob's pretty good at this point.
Hisu's lining up for it, too.
He is, yeah. Get a knock up. You can maybe follow it up with a dash from Orlo if it hits a DPS or a support. Big ultimate fight coming up, though. There's the Bob. Dynamite over the top. Good luck supports. You can see Bob holding down the fort, but San Francisco Shock used that shout and the speed boost to get out of the way.
Just waiting for that Bob to expire. And then Kilo can go in with a Bob of their own. Look at the angle that Kilo's going to be able to get on it. Rally, though, first.
Yep, Rally used first. There's the matching one. The beat from the Toronto Defiant. They got a whole lot more health. The Bob is going to start airing it out in just a moment. Although pulls with the blade with the help of Choring in the back. He's got a lot of speed, but not a lot of health. He does dip round the corner there, but meets a Bob. And in fact, Kalush was just having a little gentleman's duel with Hopper on the side and ends up winning it out. Although Blade didn't get all of anything, it's now the late beat from the San Francisco Shock might just do it. Althougho's got nothing left. The Toronto Defiant forced all the way back to their spawn, and the San Francisco Shock now one map away from getting that rematch against the Dallas Fuel. On Toronto Defiant's map choice, Kalush standing up. It's what you love to see.
Yeah,
How are Toronto Defiant Rose going to come back into this?
It's going to be another map choice for them, so hopefully they're going to be able to take Shock to a map that's going to give them an advantage. Coliseo has been really good for Toronto Defiant this stage, especially when you're able to play that Ashe on those flanks, but you know, Kilo definitely bringing out that Ashe pick 2, and that's 2 maps in a row now where San Francisco Shock have been able to get the jump on the Ashe advantage.
All right, San Francisco Shock, they got to deal with another map pick from Toronto Defiant. We'll see where we want to go after this break. Don't go.
Finn kind of crazy. Multi-talented.
Keep the rest of Shock alive. See Violet now getting taken out by the dash here. Pelican, though, tried his best, but it's not going to be enough. Finn is feeling himself. Look at him pop off.
They're going to find Backbone. Oh, and no block maybe either. A beautiful nade from Finn. Immortality forced. It goes down. So does Landon. And the San Francisco Shock, just like that, they find Backbone once again in a situation he doesn't want to be in. Oh, give it to him. You see that little smirk on his face, too?
Your player of the match is, of course, Finn. Sleep after sleep. Bio grenade after bio grenade.
San Francisco Shock set themselves up to be the villains here on the stage versus the Toronto Defiant, the hometown heroes. Toronto's map choice now as we go to push. Rose, we are going to Colosseo as our fourth and potential final map. Shock won that rematch, right, against the Fuel, who knocked them down to the lower bracket finals yesterday. Toronto Defiant want to keep that win streak going. They want to exit the lower bracket, get to the finals, take down the Fuel in front of their home crowd.
We were in a similar situation yesterday for the Toronto Defiant versus the Florida Mayhem, where Toronto did win the first map, and then Florida took the two after that. But we are going to where the comeback started for the Defiant. It is Colosseo. They've won 2 of these maps in a row here at the Summer Showdown. So this is the place where they can come back into the series and get that 2 versus 2. Toronto, we're gonna need you to hype them up a little bit because you were the reason they made it to that 4th map and that 5th map. So give them your energy now, because this is gonna be a 10-minute banger.
All right. Toronto just getting their heads in the game. It's a very different atmosphere, of course, playing on stage, but you know, using that energy and the power from the crowd. Every single time they're getting kills, you hear them erupt. When they win maps, it's even louder. When they win series, it's the loudest. They need 2 more maps here. It's not quite the reverse sweep, of course, as Toronto did find map number 1. But like you said, Rose, Colosseo, this is where it started before. Can they do it again? San Francisco Shock know this map all too well. I think a lot of teams do at this point. There's a lot of famous moments.
Hear the boomsticks. That's exactly what you want. I mean, it's like rumbling the arena right now. But it's another tale of the 2 DPS players on both teams. You know Aldo and Prop are going to be coming out of the gates with the Genji. And you know, yesterday versus the Dallas Fuel, San Francisco Shock had some really nice Genji stats from Proper. Just the team as a whole needed to be able to come together a little bit more. But Toronto Defiant coming back out with their signature Ashe pick on Hisu, looking to get those long sight lines. But it's going to be a jockeying for position here in the middle, waiting for that first pick to come through.
It's a lot easier to do it on the Surgeon with the right clicks. Of course, you already know that. Shock were in that 2-minute plus stalemate. What a legendary map that was.
2.5 minutes, just absolutely nothing happening right now. But they're looking for it. Aldo's gonna get a little low here as Kilo and Proper put on the pressure from the sidelines, but Finn is there to back them up too. As you can also see Aldo peeking over the wall, just getting that poke damage with Hisu. Because if it goes on long enough, it really could come down to getting ultimates online first. If you want to try to win that race a little bit.
Because even Hisu kind of like peeking around the wall there. See, if all those there just spamming shurikens, you get a dynamite, you get a quick body shot, that could be the end of you. Oh, although seen Proper used that dash to get away. Dynamite does a fair bit of damage in these small corridors. So you could imagine Hisu's going to build up the Bob a little bit quicker than Kilo with his railgun. Oh, he hits him in the head. Kilo gets taken down by the whip shot. What another amazing shift by Twilight. The accuracy with the whip shot is kind of nutty. Ooh, Proper with a couple of shurikens. Maybe even some reflection damage to send Hisu back insane with, although Defiant overstepping their mark. Twilight may have opened this one up with the help of Hisu, but Kalush is putting them to bed.
All right, Defiant gonna walk away with a little bit of percentage right now as Kalush just cleans things up on the push bot. And so Shock will be able to match the meterage of Defiant and start to take the lead. Proper already with the Genji play too, just outpacing Aldo right now, double to 1. As Defiant need to get back into this one, it's going to be on the back of Hisu, and Aldo once again trying to get this opening pick to really allow Hoppa, Chorong, and Twilight to get in there and get their hands dirty. Look at how they're wrapping around as well. They want to try to take these flanks. Try to get behind Kaluj. Kaluj is half.
Are Toronto Defiant aware that Proper has the blade? Well, they're definitely aware now. He's used the coach gun to get away. But look at Proper's health bar is so low. The dynamite to force him back once again. But 3 members of the Defiant were so preoccupied with that blade, they forgo the front line as Kaluj takes over this game. There's the Carnage kill onto Hisu as Toronto Defiant forced all the way back into their spawn.
Kaluj heard the boos earlier, now he's angry. Toronto Defiant need all of those cheers right now. Hisu at least gets to be able to come back with a bob. Defiant right now actually have a full slate of ultimates, and they're gonna try to deny Shock the checkpoint here as Finn pops the rally first.
Yep, double rally on a corner that's become quite famous with Sojourn plays. Although started off pretty nicely with a headshot on Aldo, almost gets moved off the map there, but power slides away. Bod is in control of Toronto Defiant right now, as that Bob kind of just holding the fort. It's still being pushed. However, with the Bob, it was unable to get capped as the Bob disappears. It looks like Toronto Defiant want to invest more into this fight. Chorong finds the boot kill onto Proper, as although holds onto the blade. Finn didn't stand a chance. And neither does Kilo, he's just diving onto the bot, trying to just make sure they can get a little bit of extra meterage if possible. But Toronto now getting the bot moving in their direction.
Pretty expensive fight from both sides. You saw the double rallies come out. Violet's still working up to another sound barrier. He has been building these relatively quickly, but it's not going to be online for when Aldo wants to go for the blade. The overclock, though, from Kilo can keep Toronto Defiant from moving past the middle point, but Aldo is already trying to get into a position, looking for that opening to go in behind the team to get that blade. He's going up to the high ground right now with Chorong.
He's trying to get, yeah, he's trying to, but it looked like Prop was able to hold it down a little bit. Double rampage, a 2-man for Kaluj, a 3-man for, oh, the blade. Somehow, although gets away with it. He takes care of Proper. The Toronto Defiance, rampage doing infinitely more than Shock's. Kaluj set himself up on a nice angle, but the follow-up just wasn't there.
Kaluj actually got boofed up by Twilight too. That flail able to push Kaluj farther away from the teams who is isolated and not able to hold down that front line. But Shock are back. They're gonna take a little bit of control now, but that's because Defiant needs to be respectful of the damage that Shock can really put into this one. And Twilight also trying to build it to the rally, so they've got some type of sustainability to go in and contest with Violet's sound barrier.
5 minutes down, 5 to go. Shock in the lead by about 30 meters or so. Yeah, just to back to another little bit of a stalemate. Violet with the beat, Chorong halfway there. Like, the ultimates right now, especially on the support side of things, a little bit off kilter. Got to be careful though, Proper's only 10% towards that blade, as the bot just continually pushing in favor of the Shock right now. You can see the pressure is kind of mounting. Toronto Defiant, all their health bars falling exceptionally low. This poke damage coming out from Shock right now, a little bit too immense.
Do they know that Proper's blade is online? If Twilight is going to be proactive about this, you'll see the rally get popped so that they have that overhealth available for when Proper decides to go in and get aggressive. Little by little though, Defiant are starting to take control of it, but there's the rally.
Yep, there's the rally. Proper probably wants to wait now until that overhealth fades away, but we'll see what they want to do as the Shock also use a rally of their own. Hopper goes pretty low as Proper pulls the blade. Chorong's already dead. Not even attempting getting a beat now for the Toronto Defiant. Proper holding up that deflect to stop a lot of that damage. Getting onto him and the rest of his team as he spots, although resets onto Hopper. What a fantastic series of events there from Proper. Toronto Defiant, Lucio, Chorong went down super early in that fight. Means they couldn't get beat online to turn that one. And Shock looking to get in that checkpoint.
Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and grab that checkpoint for the Shock. Not only that for Chorong too. Going down, you don't have the same disengage tools when that Lucio speed boost isn't available. As Shock around this corner though, they don't have anything to be able to push this over the edge except for that raw damage. And they're also playing around this corner where things get a little bit risky. Proper getting low.
Proper's taking some risks there. squaring up to Hopper. That Dynamite's pretty big, but no, look at the nimble footwork of Kilo there, getting out of the way of Hopper. Hopper just running at the Shock, though, just unrelenting in his pursuit to take down those DPS. The Shock still have that checkpoint, and with 3 minutes to go, Toronto Defiant need to win a couple of back-to-back fights now, Rose, to gain that lead.
Well, Hoppa has the Rampage up, and if you actually take a look at how he's been doing with those blades, it's 30% accuracy right now, which has been giving him a lot of bleed and also a lot of that adrenaline rush to make sure that he is staying healthy and being kept alive. On the straightaway as well, Hoppa can find a really nice advantage to go in with the Rampage, but it's
They're
going to
doing
be the
just
blade
that.
first.
They beeline straight for the supports. The Rampage comes out from Hopper, is pretty big. But is it big enough? Twilight and Hopper end up falling over. Kalush's Rampage is just decimating the Toronto Defiant. As a quick and decisive team kill, Nets Shock the lead once again. There's 2 ultimates, even 3 with Proper's Blade coming up. Defiant need to clutch this one out, but they've got so little gas in the tank.
But they clutched it out yesterday versus the Florida Mayhem. That really did start the comeback, and it was at this 2-minute mark where Toronto Defiant just kept winning these team fights.
Wow, Hisu just grounds Kilo there into a pulp. The bomb and the Dynamite is absolutely massive. The Shock are just burning alive. The overhealth from Finn's rally is keeping them competitive in this one, though. But look how long Finn's staying up. I mean, the Bob's good enough. Bob Dynamite combo is a pretty insane amount of damage. Oh, face full of pellets there. Proper falls. But again, the Shock, I think they're more than happy losing these fights on these corners because Toronto Defiant still need to win multiple to put themselves in the lead.
I know, but Twilight can go ahead and use the rally here. You're going to have to win out on Proper's Blade. Here's the overclock.
Proper does go pretty low, as now Keeler's hunting for heads to adorn his mantelpiece. Can't quite find all too much with that railgun. He does find a body shot on although, but instantly activates the deflect, so he doesn't end up going down. Blade for Proper available as the 1-minute mark approaches. The beat from the San Francisco Shock, and the blade is pulled. Proper jumps to the back. The Toronto Defiant are just cut up. They can't move. Proper just taking over the front line. Twilight, last member left standing, can't do it. It's a team kill for the Shock. There's 45 seconds to go as the Toronto Defiant try and come back.
They've got the sound barrier, although can at least keep alive, get that Dragon Blade online when the sound barrier is given over to him, but nobody can lose here. Shock are 1 team fight away from winning this series for that rematch against Dallas Fuel, but can Defiant come back?
They want to go to the finals and they want to go right now. Defiant are trying to put up a fight with that beat. The San Francisco Shock take that in stride though as they end up backing off, and Toronto's beat doesn't really net them all of anything apart from positioning. And now Kilo is the target of the Toronto Defiant, but the San Francisco Shock just standing in their way. No longer a Toronto Defiant as the Shock activate that rally. Overtime is approaching, and Kalush earning himself an ult. And in front of a home crowd, the Shock truly become the villains as they take down the hometown heroes and secure a rematch against the Fuel in the finals.
I know that it's disappointing. You can hear the boos in the arena. But Toronto Defiant, they have still done an incredible job this tournament securing that 3rd place. It was all thanks to the fans that really helped to push them over the edge for an incredible lower bracket run. Give them your love, Toronto. It's your team right here.
A truly impressive run through that lower bracket. They went down on day number 1. And they made it all the way to the final day, to Championship Sunday. They take a map off the Shock, and what a map it was. Nepal was just a sweep for the Toronto Defiant, but it's still the San Francisco Shock. Just a dominant team for so long, across so many seasons, across so many rosters.
Yeah, absolutely. And Shock, you know, like, they want to get back to the grand finals. It was a 3-0 against the Dallas Fuel yesterday. Dallas Fuel also snapped their win streak. But now Shock are warmed up. Toronto's a tough opponent right there. So Shock, you know that they've got the skills, they've got the tools to go up into the grand finals later today.
I think we best chuck it down to Danny over on the stage, though. Looks like he's got one of the key players from the San Francisco Shock standing by his side. Take it away, Danny.
Johnson Necker, thank you very much. Yes, I do have the key player from San Francisco Shock, and that is none other than Proper with me on the floor for the post-match interview. Great job today. I mean, 3-1 victory for the San Francisco Shock, and you guys are going to the finals. How'd you guys get it done today against the Toronto Defiant? 자, 3대1 승리로 오늘 경기를 끝내게 됐고요. 이제 다음 결승전만 남았습니다. 오늘 토론토와의 경기 어떻게 해서 승리를 하시게 되셨나요?
뭐 토론토는 그냥 가볍게 이기고 댈러스만 생각하고 있었습니다.
Toronto, I knew that it was going to be an easy win, so I didn't put too much thought into it. We were just really focused on Dallas. So I had all my energy saved up for that match. But I mean, given that you said that you didn't put that much thought into it, but Toronto definitely put up a good fight because they did beat you guys on the first map. So how did you guys lose the first map? 방금 별 생각을 안 하셨다고 프로포 선수가 얘기를 하셨는데 그것 치고는 좀 토론토가 잘하지 않았다는 생각을 합니다. 첫 번째 세트를 가져갔기 때문에 첫 번째 세트에서 좀 어떤 일이 있었고 어떻게 해서 지시게 되셨나요?
첫 번째 맵은 그냥 여기가 토론토 홈스탠드니까 그냥 1점 그냥 가볍게 주고 보러 오셨으니까 이제 또 길게 봐야 되잖아요. 네, 그래서 일부러 그냥 진 거예요.
Proper says that, given the fact that we are in Toronto and there are a lot of fans here cheering on Toronto, I just felt like we had to give them a map, because they're in the venue. So we actually gave Toronto a map and then we got the win. All right, let's move on. Final question. You guys are now going into the finals against Dallas Fuel, a team that have beaten you guys twice, and you guys are going up against them again. So what can San Francisco Shock do differently to get the win tonight? 자, 마지막으로 오늘 달라스와의 경기 벌써 한 2번 하셨죠? 이제 3번째인데
네.
이번엔 좀 어떻게 해야 센쇼기 달라스를 이기고 토너먼트 우승을 할 수 있을까요?
어제 달라스 경기에서 저희가 좀 방심한 게 좀 많은 것 같아가지고 이번에 할 대회는 집중해가지고 꼭 이기도록 하겠습니다.
I think the match against Dallas Fuel yesterday, we weren't cautious enough. I think that was the biggest problem that we had. So definitely for today's match, for the finals, for Summer Showdown, we are going to definitely give our 100%, focus up, and we're going to definitely beat the Dallas Fuel. All right, Proper, that is it for the interview. Thank you so much. Everybody, give it up for Proper one more time. That is all I have down here. Jaws and Necra, back to you.
Thank you very much, Danny. Wow, fighting words from Proper. You love to see it. I like a little bit of smack talk up on the stage. I'm going to be real. I like Proper kind of, stand up saying.
Proud of the crowd.
Look, I have to take them down in front of their own crowd, At the end of the day, Toronto made a fantastic run. But now the San Francisco Shock do get to face the Fuel in yet another showdown. They've been beaten twice by the Fuel at this point. Are they going to be able to rebound?
I don't know. I guess there's only one way to find out. That's going to be seeing what happens in the grand finals, right? But yeah, what gentleman for the gentleman sweep. Okay,
a little bit
Proper.
of a gentleman sweep there, giving them a single map, like Proper was saying. Let's have a look at the player of the match, though, for this series. I think a few people in the audience will be happy with this one. It's going to be Kaluge. Of course it is. I mean, his Junker Queen has just been so good. It did look against the Dallas Fuel the other day, and yeah, maybe Proper kind of speaking the truth there, right? Maybe they weren't as cautious as they needed to be, but Kaluge's rampages did match Hopper's and then some, especially on this last map. Felt like they really just found their groove at the end of it.
And Kaluge got better and better as the series went on, especially being a bit more aggressive to take that aggression away from the Toronto Defiant. I mean, look at that. That was a 4K right there, almost a full team wipe there from Kaluge alone to be able to get that ace. But, I mean, just over the course of the series, I think it's really key to see how Kaluge has also gotten better over the stage, too, with the Junker Queen. It was a little bit slower of a start for this player to be able to kind of get into the groove of the meta, but deaths have gone down pretty significantly for 10.
It's that family buff right there.
Yeah, I think it's the family buff.
Family buff from Kaluge. There's still a ton of Shock fans in the audience. You saw them holding up the little signs. Look,
kilo pounds.
Yeah, there are a lot of good signs out here today. That's for sure. Of course, we are going to take a little break. We are go into the finals a little bit later. The Shock need to rest for just a moment. The Dallas Fuel is going to be their opponent. Will they remain the villains? Are the Toronto fans going to shift their allegiance towards the Dallas Fuel? We'll have to wait and find out. We've got a few more bits and pieces in that break too. Maybe a little Overwatch action, by the way. There's a little hint for you. But that's it from us for now. We're going to jump to a quick break. Love you all, and we'll see you in a bit.
Nice.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Upper Deck, the official trading card of the Overwatch League. And by TeamSpeak, the official voice supplier of the Overwatch League.